So, the Denver Nuggets lost last night. The Denver Nuggets lost to the Minnesota Timberwolves. They had a big lead, and they blew it. I'm not gonna lie, they blew it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They choked. They choked. Regardless of what Minnesota did, the Denver Nuggets choked. And anyone blaming Nikola Jokic, man, they had nothing other than him. I can't believe there's a team that might be more heavily reliant on their star than the pre-Kyrie Dallas Mavericks. Maybe the Nuggets team is that. Maybe Jokic is just that good that he's normally able to pull them through. But we got to look at the rest of the team. We got to look at their flaws because, look, I still stand by this. I think Jokic is still probably the best player in the world. I don't think the series changes anything. And I still think the Nuggets are probably the best team in the world. They are. I think the Timberwolves go and win it. The Nuggets are probably the best team in the world. So it's really a case of what do they have to do? What can Denver do to help themselves out? And what can Denver do to make sure that they're in as good a position as possible for next season to go 2 of 3? Because if they go 2 of 3, it's still impressive. No one's gone back-to-back. No team, since the Golden State Warriors in 2017 and 18, no team's gone back-to-back. Since the Golden State Warriors in 2018, after 2018 and 2019, no team has even made the conference finals after winning a title. There's never been so much parity in the NBA. There is... People want parity? There's parity now. There is parity now. There is... As weak as the Eastern Conference is, no one that's won... To be fair, a team hasn't won the East since Toronto. So, Milwaukee won. What am I talking about? But again, Milwaukee didn't even make the conference finals that year. They lost to Boston. Because Miami got the 1 seed. And obviously, the season is completely different if the Spurs don't go and beat the Denver Nuggets. Because then Denver probably played Dallas in the last round. I don't think Dallas with Luka injured beat Denver. And then they probably go and face the Minnesota Timberwolves in the conference finals. So anyone being like, oh, it changes everything. It's like, not really. They just face the Timberwolves around later. And maybe the Timberwolves are even better. But there are 2 things that Denver really, really need. It's a good third scorer. Because as good as Michael Porter Jr. was against LA... He's not going to create his own shot. He'll just shoot every time he touches it. He'll shoot every time he touches it, and the ball either goes in or it doesn't. There's no ability to create. When things aren't going well, there's no ability to just give him the ball. No real ability to do anything other than just catch it and shoot. And he's not a terrible defender, but he's not a brilliant defender either. So, if I'm Denver, I'm not going out of my way to, have him as the third option. But as far as salary goes, I know they have their main guys tied down. KCP's probably going to accept a player option. If he doesn't, they're probably going to re-sign him. Their starting five's likely coming back. They need somebody to take some offensive load off Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray was taken out of that game in the second half. And then Jokic was everything. Jokic was everything for that team. And he's their main facilitator. He's their main scorer. He's their main rebounder. He is literally everything for that team. And they need someone, whether it be even a bench spark plug like a Jordan Clarkson. Ideally, you'd see if there's any sort of value for MPJ and see if you can get a player of equivalent standard, but maybe that fits the team better than Michael Porter Jr. But I just don't see that happening. I don't see there being any scenario where they're able to trade and get not even an upgrade on MPJ. There might be a player that's worse than Michael Porter Jr., but he just fits better. I think it is going to be hard to find that player, and I'm not sure again that player is necessarily out there for Denver to go and get. Because if you could get a Brandon Ingram type player, but no, they're not going to make a straight up trade with MPJ and Brandon Ingram. As good as MPJ is, he's very much overpaid. They gave him the max. And he is good. He's good. When Jamal Murray's playing well, when Jokic is shooting a decent percentage, and when he's hitting shots, he is a solid third option. But it's just like yesterday when Jamal's been taken out of a game. Jokic maybe isn't shooting the way he would hope. And he's also had way too much of the ball. Way too high a usage in 47 minutes and just needs someone to do something. MPJ is not that guy. He's not that guy. KCP, unbelievable 3-and-D guy. He didn't score that much yesterday, but the amount of timely steals he got, there were a few possessions where basically they, Minnesota coming back and KCP stepped up big time on defense. Denver just didn't convert on the offensive end. And then their bench is awful. Like, their only player that can create anything off the bench is Reggie Jackson. And look, it's the year of 2024. 10 years ago, maybe you could rely on Reggie Jackson as a great bench big. 10 years ago. Not in 2024. You've lost Bruce Brown, which is a massive loss. Jeff Green versus Christian Brown. Christian Brown does what he does. He's an athlete. He'll play decent defense. He'll run up and down. He won't shoot the ball. Like, Christian Brown's not terrible. He's not good either. But he's not terrible. He's a fine bench player to have. He plays a role, and he knows what he's doing, and he does it relatively well. But they don't have a backup center. Like, in the 1 minute Jokic was off the floor, they looked like we had, I think it was Christian Brown guarding Rudy Gobert, who just posted him up, and they had to play the hack-a-shack. Like, they don't have a backup center. DeAndre Jordan's still their backup center. Again, 10 years ago, DeAndre Jordan was a good player. Not in the year 2024. Find a way to get someone. There are backup centers out there. There are backup centers that can actually do something out there, but you've got DeAndre Jordan. I get it, he's a veteran presence, but he can't see the floor. Jokic played 47 minutes, and like, I genuinely was like, leave Jokic out 48. Purely, not because of Jokic's stamina, not because Jokic would be better, because they just didn't have a replacement. And going small ball against the tall ball of Minnesota was never going to work. It was just never going to work. They were going to kill you on the rebounds. You had to have Jokic out there the whole time. If they had a proper backup center, maybe things change. Maybe things change, like back in the day when Mason Plumlee played center. Like, they just need their roster construction is not where it should have been. It's really not. Like, Jokic, superstar. A couple of decent enough options. Like, Reggie Jackson's not a bad bench player, but he can't be your only scorer off the bench. You can't be relying on Reggie Jackson. You can't be relying on Justin Holiday. You can't be relying on Christian Brown to give you anything. And that's what the problem was that if Denver's starting five are not hot, if their starting five are firing on all cylinders, they're the best team in the world. But if their starting five are not hot, or if they're cold in any way, well, not hot and cold, same thing. If they're like being taken out of the game just like they were yesterday, they're going to struggle. They're going to struggle massively. And that is a big problem. That's a big problem when it comes to a team like this and just the way it's structured. So if you're Denver, you need some sort of, backup center, some sort of firepower off the bench. If they're able to get those two things, I'm trying to think, there's not that many old ring chasers that are good anymore. Like, you're not going to find like your Leandrinos, your like saving the career of a Sean Livingston like the Warriors did. You're not going to find your David West ring chasing who can actually give you something. Because these old guys, because of basically the Chris Paul deal and contracts, these old guys, old for NBA players, can basically keep getting paid until they're nearly 40. Back in the day, the way the contracts worked, they couldn't get long-term contracts after like 35. Whereas now they can still get paid until they're 39. So you're seeing less and less ring chasers. If they can find a ring chaser to give them something, great. Like, that's basically what you'd love to find. You'd love to find two of them, but I doubt it. I really doubt they go too hard too hard into that. I still think they're going to be one of the favorites for next season. Because, again, you can't not be the favorite when you have a decently constructed team as far as, like, fit with the best player in the world. They just need a little bit more firepower and someone to back up Jokic.